I would love to hear your definition of what a DAO is.
So I've actually been working with a group of DAO leaders on crafting a definition. The one that I've been working with recently is a decentralized network of autonomous agents coordinating shared resources with cryptographic fidelity. I can explain that in a little bit more detail if that's useful.
That'd be great.
So the first part is DAOs are networks. An organization is a kind of network. An organization is a network with a common purpose, like a corporation. But we also see DAOs that are a little bit more fuzzy in that area. So network can be a bit of a better descriptor than organization. There's kind of three pieces to it, right? Decentralized network, autonomous agents, coordinating shared resources with cryptographic fidelity. And so these networks are places where people take action with resources. This is like what you're familiar with a corporation, but the real utility of having a definition for DAO is to help differentiate it from other forms of human coordination. So a corporation has certain features which help differentiate it from the prior dominant form of human coordination, which was the nation state. And in the history of corporations, it was the Dutch East India Corporation in the early 1600s, which needed to actually twist a bunch of arms to be able to become an independent entity from nations. And that was the beginning of the kind of corporate epoch, which is now kind of slowly coming to a close, where, in my view, DAOs are the next developmental leap in that direction.
Why are people choosing DAOs over corporations? What are the key advantages?
Well, I think the biggest advantage is that DAOs thrive with sovereign human beings taking full responsibility for their feelings and actions, right? Whereas corporations are often outsourcing. So you, as a worker in a corporation, you outsource responsibility for what you're doing to your boss. And that's what a lot of us are used to. But in DAOs, that doesn't work very well. In DAOs, you need each person to really be sensing and responding to their own environments, making the best decisions that they can and taking responsibility for those decisions. And many of us are pretty tired of the rigid corporate mask that we have to wear when we go into normal work world. It doesn't represent us as whole, alive beings. And also corporations don't really effectively do what many of us want them to do, which is to, live in balance with this world that we're in and, create more benefit than they do peril.
What is it about the mechanism of the DAO that makes that easier? Because it seems like you're describing a common challenge of any group of people who are organized to accomplish something together. I can understand why that's a problem, but I'm curious what sort of mechanism makes DAOs solve that problem. Because I think you described a problem and a solution, but I didn't understand the mechanism.
I think going back to the definition, the last part, cryptographic fidelity. So if you think about a corporation is kind of like a organism. People talk about corporations as being people. And in a real sense, they kind of are. They're life forms in the collective frame, similar to like a beehive or an ant colony in one way or another too, right? But corporations have a pretty weak foundation. Corporation is made possible by our modern notions of governance, right? Where select few power brokers, make decisions on behalf of others. And it's pretty easy to be corrupt. It's pretty hard to be transparent. And then you have a system of jurisprudence built on this notion of governance, which, all the studies and research show can be incredibly inequitable. And then from that, you have property and finance law. And above this, you have the corporate entity. But DAOs get to start on a much stronger foundation. They get to start on the foundation of digital computation, which is global, and kind of permissionless in many ways just by its nature. Just on that alone kind of didn't really allow for DAOs to rise. What they needed was to move from RNA to DNA. They needed a stronger means of memory and storage and state, which is blockchain, the public ledger, which is like a robust system of shared information. And that's a foundation that you can really build a much stronger collective organism like a DAO on top of. This is why they're kind of going to outcompete the competitors, the corporations.